Good morning. Lawmakers passed a law on animal welfare yesterday, accompanied by a reform of the penal code, which increases prison sentences for those mistreating animals. Ian Belarra, the Minister of Social Rights and the leader of the radical left Podemos party, said the law will put an end to the impunity of people mistreating animals. This law will require compulsory training for dog owners, who will also be prohibited from leaving them alone for more than 24 hours. It also makes the sterilisation of cats compulsory except on farms, with animal rights associations stressing the importance of birth control in order to avoid abandonment. The reform of the penal code, which accompanies the law, increases the penalties for mistreatment, which can land offenders with up to a year and a half in prison if the animal requires veterinary care. 7 EU states, including Germany, Spain and Denmark, have strengthened their resistance to efforts by France to count nuclear energy towards EU renewable energy targets. The European Union is negotiating more ambitious targets to extend renewable energy this decade, but the talks have been deadlocked by a dispute over whether countries can meet the goals using low-carbon hydrogen produced from nuclear power. Yesterday, ministers from 7 countries wrote a letter calling for the targets to be kept free of non-renewable energy sources. Nuclear energy is low-carbon, but it's not renewable. France, which has historically relied on nuclear energy for 70% of its power needs, is leading the push to open up the EU renewable energy targets. These 7 countries said they're open to discussing low-carbon fuels contribution in other EU laws, including on gas networks, but that renewable goal should only be met by wind, solar and other renewable energy sources. 2 British men have been arrested after allegedly trying to make a run from a bar where they'd run up a big champagne bill. Police sources said the men, aged 49 and 52, shouted were millionaires before offering to invite other revellers to around 90 glasses of champagne and telling staff they would pay. They're said to have tried to leave the night spot named as Como in Madrid around 3 a.m. without settling a €2,200 bill. Bar staff were understood to have let them rack up the large bill because they had previously settled an earlier bill for €1,000. Police were called after the men allegedly refused to hand over any more cash and began to show a violent attitude, and they were arrested on suspicion of committing fraud. Local media are speculating the Brits may have been Liverpool supporters who had travelled to the capital for the Premier League side's Champions League match against Real Madrid. That's the latest from TRE. I'm Bob James.